Oh,
And
sorry,
and
Tiffany
your
Khan.
affiliation, if any?
No, none. I only recently learned about the advisory committee, and I wanted to know what efforts you have been making to market or advertise this meeting tonight to the public, because I've spoken with every single one of the 60 families that live in my building, and no one has ever heard of this, nor were they even aware of this meeting. And it's shameful. I know of people who would love to have attended and also given their testimonies, but they were not able to do so. So
Oh, well, I think that's a fantastic point. What could we do to make it more widely known? I mean, the normal vehicles, the press doesn't really cover this. We don't have a budget to advertise this. We don't have a budget to send mailings. We don't have people's email addresses. So we have, a website for the Campaign Finance Board. But really, I mean, with social medias, and so we do as much as we can on social media. But it's a great point. How would you think that we could actually reach more people?
well, besides social media, which only really certain people are able to access, a lot of the families in my building are senior citizens. They don't use social media at all. Again, it would be through standard mailing, but you're saying that you don't have a budget for it. So I don't really see. First of all, why don't you have? Why are you unable to do that? It's not it's not that expensive to send out a 48-cent stamp mailing.
Well, it's 8.5 million
To-
euros.
It's a budgetary issue.
Yeah.
Maybe you-
Microphone. Maybe you should raise this with the appropriate members, because appropriate representatives, but it is a budgetary issue. They don't fully fund the committee.
Will there be future efforts made? I'm happy to help if it's possible.
I'm sure there'll be future efforts
But-
made.
What you could
Because
do
it
is-
seems to me that the 26th of this month is the deadline for people to contact the Board of Elections, and it's a very short period of time for them to do so.
Yep, it's a great point. If you want to do something, I would say, get involved with your council member, raise
Right.
that as an issue with your
I've
council
contacted
member.
my city council member.
Great.
I've also written Gail Brewer, as well as, well, yes,
Terrific. If all 60 apartments in your building would do the same thing, that would have a pretty big impact on your council member.
it almost feels as if everyone's passing the baton to someone else, but no one's really taking responsibility.
It's not, seriously, I mean, it is a budgetary issue. There are a lot of things that can and should be done. For example, I mean, well, I don't have any power or any money, but really, announcements should be made on subways and in places that are regularly visited by people, subways, buses, and things of that nature. But to that, I mean, a campaign has to be embarked upon before they do that.
I have a question. How did you find out about the meeting?
Right.
A friend of mine sent me an email. I consider myself to be pretty informed about events that are going on, and I had no idea that this was taking place. It
So it
seems
was word of
very
mouth.
under the radar.
So-
Yes.
So it was word of mouth. I mean, I will say that the agency does do direct mailings, but the direct mailings that this agency does is before the elections with voter guides, the printed voter guides during the municipal elections or for municipal elections. So in that case, we have a budget for that, and we make sure that that printed piece goes into every registered voter's home. Do you receive those?
I receive a lot of mailing, primarily from my state assemblyman, my city council member as well. I have never received anything from your office.
Well, then
And
we should check that before you leave, what your address is, because if you are a registered voter.
Hamilton Heights, yes.
Yeah, okay, so then we'll check that before you leave, and we'll make sure that you are on the correct list to get that.
Okay.
And I think we'll work toward getting more and more people. Every time we register someone to vote, we ask them for their email. We ask them, if we could use their address. So this way, we do send out mailings, not necessarily for this meeting, but we do send out pertinent information that you should know about your upcoming election. So a lot of that, and we try to communicate with everyone who we touch. So right now, and for June 28th, for the congressional primary, we are doing a get out the vote effort where we're calling everyone we've ever touched. You know, we try. We tried. So we do have vehicles around that, so we could share more with you after also. But we're always looking for volunteers. We are looking for people who could come here the weekend of that 26th to make some of those phone calls with us. So there's ways that you can engage to help us also to make sure that New Yorkers know about the work that we're trying to do.
Okay.
I'm just and I'm sorry, I stepped out to use the restroom, sorry. I know that you had a question about notifications. There is one of the bills pending for the city council would be to create a database of voters' email and text numbers so that there could be email and text alerts to voters. And that information is being voluntarily collected on voter registration forms as new people are enrolled, but this would be to create a big database so that whenever there was information that needed to be sent to people, it could be not only put on the website or mailed, which, the mail is not always 100% reliable, even people who don't have access to electronic methods, but to actually call people, email them, or text them, and so that they would get these alerts about important dates that were coming up.
And I think
I think what I take away, and I think you're making some fantastic points, so thank you so much for that. Is it's not just the level of outreach, but it's also the granularity of the outreach. That if actually there's a period to protest find out whether your affidavit ballot was counted and protest, there's a deadline for that. That there's actually, what that process actually looks like. So I think there's a lot of specificity around the points that I think many people here have made that are very, very good. So thank you so much for those. Just a quick poll for the folks who came here. How many people found out about this through word of mouth? Okay. Through email? Okay, social media? Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we had about we did paid sponsored ads on Facebook. We had about 50,000 impressions, and about 400 were actually clicked on and shared.
So, and I would just add, two things about notification. One of the things that Anita and her group has done, we do a lot of work. There's a city law that requires various city agencies to be engaged in this kind of activity, and many of those city agencies, excuse me, put these spotlights, which are on their website. So it might not be a website that has nothing at all to do with voting, HRA or the Department of Consumer Affairs, and someone goes on there, and then there'll be a spotlight that have these more granular dates on them that you couldn't do a mass mailing to everyone in the whole city, but you can communicate some of these more fine dates through these email blasts. Also, I mean, as Chair Chang said, it's it's important to tell people about these important dates. Also, it's important to make sure that the communications are clear. And if you read the case study that's in our annual report, one of the things we bring up is that some of the messaging about people who got notifications, even if you got in the mail the notification that you were going to be purged from the voter rolls, it was not particularly clear exactly that was what was happening, or what exactly you had to do about it. So it's important to work to make sure that all the messaging is very, very clear, because even if you got it, you want to make sure that people understand it and know exactly what the steps are that they have to take to fix their problem.
So that actually brings me to another point, which is about people being purged from the rosters. And we've all heard of this, but just to sort of drive that point home one more time, I know of people personally who are registered Democrats who've been voting in every election. There is absolutely no reason why they should not have been able to have voted on April 19th. And I wanted to also hear about what your committee is planning on doing about that.
Thank
Well,
you.
And just one last thing, irrespective of your positions on the committee, you should be concerned as American citizens, because this is an outrage. It's an erosion of the democratic system, and it's unacceptable. If this were to take place in a developing country, you would have news coverage of it, it would be ridiculed, and we're accepting it. It is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you.